In 2018, I got a call out the blue to head a digital team for a large corporate in South Africa. What made this really interesting was that at the time, I was managing myself with my own consultancy. There was one person I was managing, and it was me. This role would have me managing close to 100 people. It was a really big difference. But I still took the role. And when I found out that what I had not known when taking the role was that the team was in chaos, I still wasn't scared. You see, this team was actually in like complete disorder. Finger pointing, rampant overtime, missed deadlines, and mass resignations. What excited me, though, was this opportunity of using a new way of work that I had recently come across. Just before joining this team, I had stumbled upon some research that had been undertaken in the 1960s. And what this research was looking at was the impact of the environment on stem cells. But it was quite unusual for me to be looking at this kind of research, right? Having a career in digital. But the reason that I was in this investigative stage of my life and looking at this research was that at the time I was trying to overcome trauma. I was going through a lot. It was a hard time for me and my family. My brother had been tragically killed in an armed robbery in Johannesburg, and my husband was suffering from a debilitating disease. We had 2 small children, and it was hard. It was tough. I was heartbroken and exhausted. And behind the smile, I felt like I was nowhere. My life was in chaos, and it felt like there was just nothing solid beneath me. There was nothing I could hang my hat on. It was like the void of grief, the void of uncertainty. And so this research was part of an intense personal immersion into finding clarity and significance in a life I wasn't sure that I wanted to stay part of. Dr. Bruce Lipton's work spoke to me. It was factual, analytical, and repeatable. What he did was take one stem cell and replicate it into 30,000 cells. That means 30,000 cells with the same parents. He took these and split them across 3 Petri dishes. Each Petri dish was given a different blood culture, meaning there were 3 different environments. The result, one became muscle tissue, one became bone, and the other fat. What was interesting to Bruce and to me 50 years later was that the environment determined the outcome. The environment and the cell's perspective of the environment, not a predetermined fate based on what the cell was when it arrived in the dish. So I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Now, I'm not a doctor or a scientist, but in my world, I thought, if the environment could do that to a cell, I wonder what it could do to a person in a team. And that's where my work with the digital team started, unfazed by the chaos and actually quite excited. I realized that there was something different that we could do together, something that could be super cool. And it was a story that I just continuously told myself to make myself feel better every time I looked at people reminding me how much chaos and trouble we were in as a team. So my priority was to change the environment and the perspective of the environment, not the people. And through the thinking of that experiment and bringing it into the team and the processes that ensued, that team reached levels of success previously unimaginable. And what that looked like was we were able to do much more with less, and we were almost always nice to each other. Okay, so over the next few minutes, I'm going to tell you what I did. Just keep in mind that while I've used this thinking in changing and working with digital teams, I've also used it on myself personally, as well as individual professionals and actually entire businesses. So while this research was looking at health results and looking at the influence of the environment on health, I was obviously interested in business results and business outcomes. So the question was, whatever outcome I'm looking for, what is the environment that I need to cultivate? What environment should I be creating and cultivating for the work that I want to do? So the outcome I was looking for was a team inflow. I wanted everybody to know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. I wanted them to be focused on their individual excellence while all working towards a common goal. I wanted them to be deeply respectful for each other and everybody to get along. I wanted them also to not rely, don't depend on me because I want work-life balance. And I didn't want a dictatorship because I needed them to still be creative. And what else did I want? Oh yes, I wanted the best high-performing team in the world. And I actually was thinking to myself, I want a living, breathing version of emergence at work. So I realized I needed help. And yeah, so I turned to the experts. Meet the starling, pretty small birds. So they like to gather and they make unusual patterns in the sky called murmurations. You can find them all over the world, with up to 10 million being reported to gather annually in Rome. 10 million birds in the sky at the same time. Yes, I know what some of you are thinking, how do they actually count them? Nobody individually went and counted the 10 million birds, okay? They've got, obviously, that's a computer. There's some magic. There's a computer, and then it's 10 million birds, no bumper bashings or road rage. Each bird just knows where to go and when to move there. Over the years, humans have tried to work out exactly how they do this. We've come up with different theories, and in the 1930s, we actually thought that perhaps they were telepathic. So this particular theory did not gain traction, but what we do know for sure is that these birds are acutely aware of the 6 to 7 birds around them, and only aware of the 6 to 7 birds around them, and they watch with keen interest where those birds are moving to, and that's how they get their cue as to where to go next. And we also know that they need to eat and they need to be safe from birds of prey. So when an unexpected threat arrives, each bird moves perfectly into place over and over again, with no repeatable pattern and no leader. After studying these birds in context of the environment, what I could see, looking at them in these murmurations, was an environment of expectation. So what I mean by an environment of expectation, these birds are self-organizing. And what it looks like, it's 3 steps. Firstly, they know what they want and why. They know they need to be safe, and they know they need to eat. Secondly, they know how to do it. Fly, watch my neighbors around me. And thirdly, they believe they can and they do. Now this belief is not limited to the individual bird. Yes, he, she knows that. I know I can. I know I can fly and I can do it right. But they also believe and expect that their neighbors are doing the exact same thing, because if they didn't, why bother trying to get away from the bird of prey in a murmuration? They would all be looking at that bird of prey going, yeah, it's one for all here, guys. Just move out of the way. We've got to get away from this dude, and fastest bird wins. But they don't. They work together because there is an absolute expectation, trust, belief that everybody's going to do what needs to be done. So in other words, these birds have got clarity, process, and mindset. Seems so simple. I'm I know these words, clarity, simple, and mindset. I use them all the time in my strategy work, in transformation, and putting together vision statements. And I started reflecting on my work. 20 years career, and often building these detailed strategies and plans, and then creating aligned processes that are excellent to assist with execution and implementation. Now I'm looking at this environment of expectation and considering mindset, perspective. I'm okay, let's see what I've got here. So I look at the team, the digital team. What are the outcomes that we're looking at? Finger pointing, rampant overtime, missed deadlines, mass resignations. What could their belief be? They definitely did not believe that they could win joyfully. In fact, as it turned out, they believed that they would likely lose and that they would be blamed. So I knew I needed to work on mindset, and that actually needed to be my priority, and I needed to start with mindset with the team. So now I've got to change belief. Have you ever tried to change your belief? It is so hard. So belief is a thought that you consistently think. It's a thought that you keep thinking, okay? So now I must change it, but what makes it hard is that we are creatures of habit. So just consider this for a second. Which hand do you use to brush your teeth? How many years have you been using this hand? Which side of the bed do you sleep on? Even when you go on holiday. So I'm on the left. I walk into a room, doesn't matter which side the loo is, where the charger is for the phone. It's just like I'm on the left. Like, I can't go to the right. That would be weird. Even if I were to tell you it's better for you to use your other hand, or it's better for you to move to the other side of the bed, you're not going to do it. We find what works, and we stick to it. Unfortunately, we do that even if something looks better for us, we're going to stay where we are. Even when something is healthier for you, you tend to stay where you are. Unless or until a diagnosis, divorce, retrenchment, not being able to get up in the morning. Now we must change, because now our lives don't have order. Now we have chaos. Chaos is often the push we need to move us from where we are to where we need to be. And what I did was I used and leveraged the chaos that was in the team to help me change belief in the team, because now they had nothing or little to lose. And that's the medicine of chaos. It's the cure to mediocrity, the cure to poor performance, and in this case, the cure to finger pointing, rampant overtime, missed deadlines, and mass resignations. Chaos brings a willingness to change, to be open, and to keep trying until you win. And while you can create the environment of expectation at any time of your life, like you don't have to wait for chaos, but when you do have chaos, it's one of the best and easiest times to do it. The irony, the easy part when you're in chaos. But this is when you can move, because you know that you can't stay where you are. Did I do that? Okay, so there were many things I did to change the team's collective belief, but the most impactful was I consistently shared my belief in the team and gave them reasons to believe. I did this because I understood how critically important belief was to an environment of expectation. And I very quickly found out that belief is contagious, especially when it comes from the leader. I had some of my best insights and results working with this team. It was incredible. We built some of the most complicated mobile apps and websites for millions of customers. This team was so extraordinary. They ended up building South Africa's contact tracing app with Apple and Google and the South African National Department of Health. And they did it in such an amazing way that they actually had a case study written about them to help other countries around the world with their rollouts. This team. The team that thought they would likely lose and that they would be blamed. I didn't change the team. I changed the environment. Coming back to me and my personal journey with chaos. While I will always miss my brother, whose death catapulted me into one of the most painful, chaotic periods of my life. Looking back, I can see how it was the medicine that I needed. It brought me first to my knees, and then to the outcome, the result that I wanted. I wanted to live a life that I loved and that I chose. And now I live a life where I love whatever life experience comes my way. And that was my medicine. That was my medicine of that chaos. And so if your life is full of finger pointing, overtime, and missed deadlines, even mass resignations, and this is at work or figuratively in your personal life, this might be your cue. This is your medicine. And maybe you don't need to run away from it. You don't even need to fight it. You don't even have to wish to go back to how things were when you thought things were fine. But what you can do is expect a better outcome. Perhaps a better business result, or even a better life. All of this is just around the corner. And your work, your only work, is to create an environment of expectation. Thank you.